Hi guys, welcome to Devs Only Sports. This is episode 28. Before we get into anything, just make sure to follow us on our social medias. We have Twitter, we have TikTok, we have Instagram, all at Devs Only Sports. And then on YouTube and Spotify, just make sure to type in Devs Only Sports into the search bar, and you'll be able to find our full episodes there. It's the Monday after the Super Bowl. I'm just worn out, as you can see. Eagles lost 38-35 against the Chiefs. It was a good game. Patrick Mahomes basically injured the entire time, comes into, State Farm and just absolutely starts, he starts throwing dimes, starts throwing dots. He had a few running plays, was really good. Jalen Hurts, credit where credit is due, played a really well fought game, but I think the Eagles defense really let them down in the end. They gave up 24 points in the fourth quarter. So is what it is. But what are you thinking? What's the analysis here?
I mean, there's a lot going on. Let's just go through the game from the start. So, the beginning of the game, the Chiefs win the coin toss, and this is some random stat, but the last eight Super Bowls, the team that's won the toss has lost the Super Bowl. So everyone's like, "Oh, the Eagles are gonna win now. It's a lock." And it got started a little odd. The Eagles scored on their opening drive, of course, because that's what they do all year. They just drive right down the field, touchdown. Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown. So that was expected for all the bettors out
Hey,
there. And then rest in peace to Kenneth Gainwell, first touchdown of the game betters, but it's okay. It's okay.
yeah,
And then the Chiefs get the ball, drive right down the field. Travis Kelce has a monster drive, and the Chiefs tie it up at seven. Yeah, at seven. And then the Eagles go back, and I think they score on the next drive, if I'm not mistaken. But
yeah,
they went up 14-7, and then at the end of the first half, the Eagles got the ball back, and they were driving. And then on a 3rd and 1, they got like a false start. And then on the 3rd and 6 after the next play, Jalen Hurts fumbles the ball. The Chiefs return it for a touchdown. Bolton returns it for a touchdown, and it's tied up at 14. The Eagles get the ball back. Jalen Hurts throws an absolute bomb to AJ Brown. Terrible coverage by the Chiefs cornerbacks. He was double covered and he still got wide open for that touch. It made no sense, but Jalen Hurts threw a 50-yard pass for a touchdown. Eagles up 21-14. Then the Eagles get the ball back, get a field goal at the end of the half, go up 24-14 going into half. And at that point, Adam Schefter posted the stat that in the Super Bowl history, a team that's up by double digits at halftime is 26-1. The only team that lost a Super Bowl when up by double digits at halftime was the Atlanta Falcons against the Patriots. So I was like, is Patty gonna do it? Is Patty gonna clutch up? And then we go to the second half, and at the end of the first half, Patty got hurt. He rolled up on the same ankle that he had the high ankle sprain, so everyone was really nervous. But I guess at halftime he was able to rest it a little bit during the Rihanna halftime show, and then they come out for the second half. The Chiefs get the ball. I think they drive right down for a touchdown, so it's 24-21. Then the Eagles settle for a field goal, and then the Chiefs come right back, touchdown, 28-27. They take the lead, and then the Eagles have to punt, and when they punt, Kadarius Toney makes just a ton of juke moves. He like catches the ball on one side of the field, tries to run that way, but then it's all blocked off, so he cuts it to the other side of the field, gets it like a 60-yard return, gets it all the way down to the 5-yard line. And then
hmm
the Chiefs, I don't know if like what your Eagles defense was doing, but the Chiefs literally ran the same play on
yep,
opposite sides of the field. One side to Kadarius Toney, and then on the next drive to Sky Moore, where they like cut in and then they cut right back out, and your
yep,
defenders were miscommunicating the whole time. So the corner that was on that receiver would just go straight to the middle of the field, like acting like he was going to go across. And then the Chiefs receiver would just cut right back out, and he was wide open. Kadarius Toney was wide open for the touchdown, and Sky Moore was wide open for the touchdown. I think both of them might have been on third down. I'm not positive, but at least one of them was.
yeah,
And it gave the Chiefs a 35-27 lead. And then very impressively, Jalen Hurts right back on the field, rushes a lot, passes a lot, just has an amazing drive. And then they threw a deep pass to Devontae Smith. I thought it was going to be a touchdown, but he got out of bounds at the 1-yard line. Jalen
yeah,
Hurts runs it in on the 2-point conversion. Jalen Hurts again. And in this game, not talked about enough is that Jalen Hurts had an amazing game. He had like 300 passing yards, 70 rushing yards, three rushing touchdowns, one passing touchdown. Just absolutely played an amazing game, almost a flawless game. Besides the fumble, if he didn't fumble, it would have been a flawless game. But
yep,
he played absolutely great. And then again, and then when it was tied 35-35, the Chiefs get the ball back. Patrick Mahomes leads the Chiefs on the drive. He runs for like a 20-yard pickup. They get it down to the 15-yard line, and then on 3rd and 8 at the 15-yard line of the Eagles, Patrick Mahomes, Juju Smith-Schuster runs this little like curl route, and then Patrick Mahomes throws it deep. It's like 10 yards past Juju, but they called a holding on James Bradbury, and it makes it a first down for the Chiefs. The Chiefs are able to basically run the clock out until 10 seconds left, and then they kick a 27-yard field goal. Harrison Butker for the win, 38-35. Then the last play of the game, Jalen Hurts couldn't throw it 75 yards downfield, so it didn't really work
Yeah.
out. But the game was over at that point. And then it was an impressive performance because all that the Chiefs had to go through to win the Super Bowl. I mean, when we look at this on paper, the Eagles are a far superior team as a whole. But
Yeah.
again, this is football. The quarterback makes such a big difference. So even though the Eagles have a significantly better roster, the quarterback, I know Jalen Hurts had an amazing game, but Patrick Mahomes is on a different level to any other quarterback in football. So he just makes up the difference. Even on one bad ankle, I mean, he was struggling to move side to side. His vertical running wasn't terrible. Like he could get some good runs down the field, but he was struggling side to side. But I think it was just an impressive performance considering they were down by 10. In the first half, the Eagles looked like they were going to pull away a little bit. I mean, they were kind of dominating. The Chiefs were having some trouble on offense because Mahomes wasn't that mobile, and it just seemed like the Eagles could not be stopped. It seemed like the Chiefs defense could not stop the Eagles offense. And then just a few key plays changed the game, and the Chiefs were able to pull it out at the end. I mean, it must be tragic for you. I mean, what can you expect? It's Patty Mahomes. It's Patty Mahomes. It's not the right guy to face, bro.
I
Don't
mean,
mess with him.
like I said last week that if Jalen Hurts wasn't winning MVP, that I wasn't gonna watch another snap of football, right? But my team's in the Super Bowl, so obviously I'm gonna watch that game. But maybe next season, we'll see what happens. But I watched Patrick Mahomes last night against a really good Eagles defense, arguably one of the best defenses in the league. And, basically midway through the game, he messes up his sprained ankle that he already had a problem
Yeah,
with throughout the entire playoffs. And to see him limping and wincing off the field, for me, I was all like, like going into the second half, I'm like, okay, like, for the Eagles, this is like a good omen, but like, who knows? And then, the fact that he was obviously injured throughout the entire second half, he's running the ball, he's getting out of the pocket, passing the ball. Like, okay, like that made me understand why he won MVP. And for all the people out there who are telling me that I'm ballistic and crazy and all this crap, like, yes, okay, I understand why he's MVP. He deserves it. Jalen Hurts did put up a good running. Maybe the 48 votes to 1 is still kind of crazy to me because Jalen Hurts proved in yesterday's game that he shouldn't have just deserved 1 vote. He's
yeah,
clearly up for MVP candidacy. Next year, we'll see what happens, but he's clearly a really good player. He's probably one of the best players in the league this year. And it's just very, underrated because the Eagles just haven't had strength of schedule. So, you can't really say, oh, well, Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback or the best player because we haven't really played anyone. There's no one to like really go up against. So I will be the first to say that, yes, I understand why Patrick Mahomes is the MVP. Jalen Hurts, while good in yesterday's game, Patrick Mahomes just kind of, going through adversity. And I always love the adversity. So, just something that I love to see. The thing that I do want to point out and the thing that I loved from this, because it's another point that I made in a video we did after the NFC Championship was when we were talking about Trent Williams and how he like body
yeah,
slammed one of our defensive players. And I had a really big issue with that because no one really said anything. Like it just kind of like happened and then like that was that. Like there was no like apology for it. Like none of the players in the press conference were like, this was wrong. We know it was wrong. Not going to happen again. And even the fans were like, they were more upset over the fact that they lost because they lost their starting quarterback in the first quarter than like the game itself. Like they were literally like, since the first quarter, 49ers fans were just complaining the entire time.
yeah,
But
yeah,
what I love to see is that for Bradbury, because he was the one with the holding call at the end of the game, the controversial holding call, but that was like it was like very slight holding call.
yeah,
And for me personally, it wouldn't have been enough to throw a flag. But
yeah,
like I understand it at the end of the day.
yeah,
Like, and like Juju Smith Schuster, I feel like even he kind of was like, yeah, that's not really holding call because usually like players will like throw their arms, especially that late in the game. You throw your arms up in the air, you're like, oh, like, but Juju didn't do that. So I feel like even he knew that it wasn't really that much of a holding call. But the thing that I love the most is that Bradbury, in one of his post game press conferences, admitted that yeah, it was kind of holding, and he just wanted it to go unnoticed. So you
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
it's just like it's so simple to just take
Yeah.
accountability for stuff. You have
Yeah.
so many opportunities as a professional player because you have press, you have journalism,
Yeah.
it's everywhere, it's all around you. All you need to
Yeah.
do is just say one thing and that's it. It's gonna get covered. Adam Schefter will put it
Yeah.
on his Twitter, or like Woj put it on his Twitter. So one of these guys will put it on their Twitter because it's
Yeah.
important, And the fact
I
that a
totally
guy
agree.
like
Because
Trent Williams,
yeah.
all he needed to do is just be like, I know what I did was wrong. I'm sorry. Didn't
Well,
do
like
that.
look at yeah, well, like look at all the 49ers players this week. I mean, they were so salty about that loss. The way
Yeah,
they acted during the game and then after the game. You had Robbie Gould come out and say that Jalen Hurts isn't that good. You had like Brandon Ayuk saying that I put all my money on the Chiefs if I like was gonna bet on the game, I put all my money on the Chiefs. You have Debo Samuel coming out and saying that the Eagles cornerbacks are terrible. You just have all these San Francisco 49ers players talking trash about the Eagles, and I'm like, you lost. Like, what are you talking
yeah,
trash about? Like even if you did have your quarterback, it still would have been a tough game. Like it's not like guaranteed that you guys would have won if you had Brock Purdy. Like it was still in Philly. The Eagles are still a really good team, as you saw in the
yeah,
Super Bowl. And I just don't. It's just like it's kind of like like now I'm kind of like annoyed with the 49ers because it's like they just have been talking all week, and it's like you lost 2 weeks ago. Why are you talking so much trash? Like it wasn't like
exactly.
they cheated or like they did anything wrong. The Eagles would just beat you because your quarterback got hurt and
Yeah,
they just played better than you. Like I don't know
yeah,
what it's like. I don't know why you're whining so much. I mean, if you're upset that your quarterback got hurt, like George Kittle was upset that his quarterback got hurt, that's fine. But to come out in all these post game things and like talking trash about the Eagles, like Debo Samuel talking trash about the Eagles cornerbacks, I'm like, you didn't catch a ball the whole game. I know you're gonna say, well, they didn't throw the ball to me because they didn't have a quarterback. Yeah, fine. But even when Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson weren't, you didn't do anything. So it's like I don't know what you're talking all this trash about. You guys lost. Come back, use that as fuel and come back next year instead of whining about it now. It doesn't really make
yeah,
any sense. And
exactly. It's just the
yeah,
accountability is just what
it was that's why the Eagles are a
pisses me
good
off.
team is because they have a leader with Jalen Hurts who's accountable. He's like he played an amazing game, but he's like we'll learn from this. We didn't play good enough. We lost the game. We'll
Yeah,
learn from this. You see Bradbury come out. I've never seen a player literally admit that his call, the controversial call, was like he never admit that he did it. Like I've never seen that.
exactly,
And it's
exactly.
like, and it was I was stunned when it came out because everyone's texting me like, "Oh my God, terrible call! It cost them the game." Like it did not cost the Eagles the game. Like the
Yeah,
Eagles made mistakes on their own to cause it. Like the Eagles, first of all, they gave up a 65-yard punt return, which put the Chiefs in field goal range.
yep,
They Jalen Hurts fumbled the ball for a touchdown, so he basically
yep.
gave them 7 point. It was a 14-point swing right there because the Eagles were probably going to go down and drive and score a touchdown. The like I mean, also other stuff the referees did. You look at the Dallas Goddard catch. It might have been a catch, but it was a very close call. That could have gone either way. I mean, Dallas
Yeah,
Goddard got possession of the ball and his foot was right off the ground and it was very slight. So it could have gone either way. And then the fumble call, literally, I forgot who it was, Miles Sanders, I think. He caught the ball and he turns and then he gets absolutely popped and they take it back for a touchdown, but they say it was an incomplete pass. If that goes the other way, that's another 14-point swing. So
yeah,
I just don't want to hear all these complaints. Sirianni said it after the game. Each play is important, but it doesn't change the whole game. Like that play at the end of the game, who let's say even if the Eagles got the ball back, they might have gotten a field goal to tie the game. They might have gone to overtime. They still could have lost. They still could have won. Who knows? But it's like, don't take the risk by holding the guy. Like I just you had other opportunities throughout the game. We talked about this with the 49ers. We talked about this with the Bengals Chiefs. You guys had other opportunities throughout the game to make plays. It didn't happen. It's a very close game. The margin was that close. Even with all the stuff, it was a 38-35 game. It could have gone either way. It's not like that's what how sports are. They're close. It's frustrating,
yeah,
but it's a close game. So all these people whining about the referees again. Yeah, they're not perfect and they make tons of mistakes. I'm not going to disagree with you, but if you guys
mhm.
want to see bad referees, you should watch Pac-12 basketball
Oh
referees,
my God.
not NFL referees, because Pac-12 basketball referees want you to make you want to kill yourself. Not this, bro. Like this is brutal. So, um, yeah, I
Can
just think that.
can we just take a moment to talk about the field situation? Like
Oh my God,
I'm
they
not gonna
spent
be one to say like the reason why the Eagles lost was because players were slipping and
it was
falling
both
like all the
sides though.
time.
It was both sides. I
But
mean,
it's just like, how is
terrible.
that it's a professional football field in
They were also
Arizona where
talking
it's
about it. Yeah, they were talking about how They spent $800,000 on this field, this new field with all this special grass, and they were
Yeah.
spending 2 years cultivating the grass, and they would bring it in and out of the stadium twice a day to like make sure that it got the proper amount of sunlight. And they were bragging about how much effort they were putting into the grass, and it was terrible. The players are slipping everywhere. It's like a slip and slide. I mean,
There's
they're
skid
basically on a
marks all over the
yeah,
field, bro.
it's basically an ice skating rink at this point, and it's just like I don't understand what Roger Goodell, the NFL, are doing. I mean, it should not be that hard if you're the premier sports league in America to get a good enough field to play a sport. Like
Yeah.
that, you guys are like a multi-billion-dollar industry, and you can't get a proper field to play the Super Bowl, which is generates billions of dollars. I mean, it's crazy to me that
Yeah.
that was just a bad leadership, incompetence overall. I mean, I've never seen like what are you doing? Like this is the biggest game of the year. There's the World Cup final is the biggest game in the world, and then this is like the second biggest game that you could basically have in the world.
Yeah.
And for you to have like a field that was that bad, it's embarrassing for the NFL. It's a bad look for them because
Yeah.
it's also like they came out and were bragging about like all the effort they were putting into this field, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
Like it was just that was terrible too. But
Yeah,
I feel
like
like
on the Chiefs' first drive, where it was literally just Patrick Mahomes lobbing balls up to Travis Kelce on basically every like play action that they were running.
yeah,
It was like, like they're basically like talking about like, oh, like Travis Kelce, like this is why he's so good. He gets open in these spaces, like da 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 da. But when you watch the replay, the defender that's on him is literally slipping and falling to the ground. I'm like, bro, Travis Kelce's not getting. And then for the rest of the game, what happens? Kelce gets like what, maybe no less than
nothing.
like 5 receptions for the rest of the
Yeah, the
game.
first drive Kelsey dominated, and then like the rest of the game he was like unseen because like
That's why,
it
because
just
it's
yeah
players just slipping and falling. Like
yeah
that's not like, oh, Travis Kelce.
yeah.
Like, yes, I'm not taking down about Travis
But the
Kelce, but
same
I'm
thing like
saying that drive.
Devontae Smith and AJ Brown both had like 50-yard catches. Like the Chiefs defenders were nowhere to be seen. I mean, they didn't slip, they made some mistakes, but like
Yeah.
it was just like, dude, what is going on? Like
Yeah. It's like,
yeah
it's like people making out to be like so much more than it actually is. And it's like,
yeah.
yes, like you look at it and like there's no one around him. Yeah, but like let's look at the full play. Let's look at before the snap what they're playing. Are they playing man coverage? Are they playing zone coverage? All right. And for all the Travis Kelce, they're all doing fucking zone coverage. And it's like they're slipping and falling.
It was quite the game. But I gotta say, this was like I mean, we said before the game that this was going to be a very good Super Bowl because these teams are both pretty evenly matched because the Eagles have a great roster, the Chiefs have a great quarterback, and the Chiefs have a good team too. So just like it was going to be a good game. It seemed pretty evenly matched. Sometimes you go into a Super Bowl and you just think one team's going to blow the other team out. This
Mhm.
seemed like an even matchup, and it lived up to the hype. I mean, I think this honestly is probably one of the best Super Bowls I've seen. It was a very good game. It was thrilling throughout. I mean, there's lead changes, high scoring game, tons of action, a few turnovers, some great plays, just rushing touchdowns, passing touchdowns. I mean, everything. There's punt returns. I mean, you never see this kind of stuff. So it
Yeah.
was just like this game had everything. It was a good game. The storylines lived up to the hype. Both teams played well. It wasn't like one team played really bad or one team like both teams played well. I mean, of course, the Eagles defense in the second half wasn't great. The Chiefs offense in the first half wasn't great, but both teams played pretty well. I think everyone was happy with it. The halftime show was good. I mean, everything was just solid. This was just it was solid. It was solid. It was solid. Come on.
The halftime show, okay, like I'm not gonna hate on Rihanna because Rihanna is definitely one of the best singers of all time.
But
And
like,
yes, she was pregnant, and I understand that. But it's just like, if it was me and I was pregnant and I was doing a halftime show, I would at least have some like surprise guests. So at least like try and carry the show, you know? Like she has songs with Eminem, she has
I thought she did. I thought she did a good job. Like when you look at this compared to like the weekend Super Bowl halftime show. I mean,
yeah,
like,
that
dude,
one was was odd, but it definitely
yeah,
wasn't the worst that I had watched. I just feel like, like a lot of people, like the people that I was watching the Super Bowl with, they're like Super Bowl halftime critics. Like they only watch the
yes,
Super
yes,
Bowl for the halftime
exactly.
show.
Yep, yeah.
And even they were like, oh, like that was pretty disappointing because they look for like costume changes and
Okay,
like the
yes, but I feel
choreography
like
from the dancers, which was actually good, but like
yeah,
it was
I feel like
just
the only thing you could criticize this one was that the costumes because they had the same like Rihanna was in the red and then all of, like the side people all had the white costumes and they didn't really it wasn't like a lot of times in the Super Bowl halftime there's like tons of different segments with different costumes and different this there wasn't a ton of changing of stuff which it makes it she's pregnant so it makes sense that they can't do as much of that but I feel like the props were cool with like the levitating towers
yeah.
and then I thought like the actual performance was good I know like the costumes weren't like as
Yeah.
maybe what's the word? Dynamic as people might like, but
Yeah.
I thought it was good overall. The
I
haters
mean,
can hate,
it
that's
was
fine.
her first performance since like
Yeah,
2018.
7 years. Exactly. She like I think they said that she hasn't performed in like 6 or 7 years, some crazy thing.
Yeah.
And she to perform on the Super Bowl, like I feel like it could have been a lot worse. So all people complain about everything though, so it's like whatever. Like
I feel like the only problem is that like I'm just like comparing it to like last year's halftime show because I
last year's
really
was
like
good.
last year's halftime show.
Last year was good. Yeah, but I feel like last year's
So
also because there's multiple different people doing
mhm,
it, and it was
that's
also
why.
like it was in LA. There's multiple different people doing it, and like they had tons of different props. It was just like an LA like it just I don't know. It was very
You knew
nostalgic.
you
Is
were
what
in
I meant.
LA,
Yeah, it
basically.
was very
Whereas
nostalgic.
Rihanna in
So
Arizona is just like, all right,
it was like a music performance. It wasn't as like
yeah,
tied to the city. So I mean,
yeah.
it's fair, but I feel like overall the whole Super Bowl, great Super Bowl, probably one of the best Super Bowls in the last 10 years. I mean, whenever the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, it's always a good game. So
We
it was
show up.
yeah, you guys show up. It was a solid Super Bowl. Going forward, next year's favorites. I don't know who you're gonna put, but I feel like the Chiefs and Eagles have to be two of the top teams in the NFL next year.
I mean, yeah,
Um,
ESPN already put out their power rankings. They've got
yeah,
Chiefs at one, Eagles two, Niners three, Bengals four, and Bills five. But that's just
yeah,
looking at, who made the championship games and
yeah,
how the Bills just kind of didn't show up against the
yeah.
Bengals. So, like I just feel like for me and to all the Eagles fans out there, we should not be worried. Okay. We have a hard hitting schedule next year, but we're still gonna have Jalen Hurts. We're still gonna have AJ Brown. We're still going to have Devontae Smith. We have three running backs that we do not need. And of the three, I genuinely feel like Boston Scott is the best one, especially in yesterday's game. Boston Scott seemed like the best running back of the three. So we
Miles
have
Sanders did not show up.
exactly like we have two running backs that are basically up for grabs. We have so many backup wide receivers that are also up for grabs. Our defense is solid, and none of them are going to sign anywhere else. And then on top of all of that, we have two first round picks. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, yes, to all the Eagles fans out there who are like devastated that we just lost the Super Bowl, bro, like we're playing Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, I don't know. Like, we were favored. We were favored to win by 1 point, 2 points, right? But at the end of the day, our defense threw like they have done in the past this year. When we were up by 10 points at halftime, even I knew I was like, we're going to blow this lead. I don't know if we'll lose the game, but we're definitely going to blow this lead. And what do? We blew the lead. Fourth quarter comes around, they score 24 points because our defense doesn't, again, like you said, with the whole cornerback situation, we had Maddox and Darius Slay just going towards the middle of the field, and the receivers just cut back and run the
Yeah.
basically like the hook
Yeah.
slant and just catch the ball in wide open territory because they're thinking that they're going towards the middle of the field when they're not. That was just bad coverage. And
I
that
feel like
basically, those two plays
yeah.
defined what the Eagles defense was in the second half.
Well, I feel like the cornerbacks were weak first of all. And then the second thing is that your D line was so disappointing in the Super Bowl. You guys were hyped up as the best defensive line in football, 70 sacks, about to break the record for like the most
I
sacks
mean,
ever in a season. And then
to
you
be
guys didn't
fair, like there were a lot of pressures on Patrick Mahomes. A lot.
you did get pressures on him, but to not sack him one time, I mean,
Yeah.
like for example,
That was bad.
we saw Patrick Mahomes face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs were favored. That year they went like 14-2, I think. They had like or 15-1. They had like an amazing season that year.
Yeah.
And everyone thought the Chiefs were going to win. The Buccaneers kind of came on late. That was with Tom Brady. And then in that game, the Buccaneers dominated the Chiefs, and the only reason that happened was because the Chiefs' offensive line, of course, was banged up. But the Buccaneers got to Patrick Mahomes so much. They didn't necessarily sack him, but they pressured him so much that he had to throw the ball away. Even when you guys pressured Patrick Mahomes, who again was on one leg today, he still was able to run away. I mean, he had some big running plays yesterday, a few of them, like multiple. And you guys did get a lot of pressure, but a lot of the times the pressure was too far up the field and it just allowed him to step up. You didn't really contain him in the pocket. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that was an issue. But I feel like again, you got it partially that's the Eagles defensive line not stepping up in this game. Another part of that is that the Chiefs offensive line had a really good game.
Yeah.
They protected Mahomes very well, especially what happened a few years ago. They really revamped that O line. They played a great game.
Yeah.
So I mean, as an Eagles fan, I don't think you can be too upset. I mean, no one would have thought
Yeah.
that Jalen Hurts would pop off like he did today. Everyone knows he's a solid NFL quarterback. No one knew like he was like that. So, I mean, he had
Yeah.
a great year, but I don't think people thought he was gonna throw 300 yards passing, three rushing touchdowns, one passing touchdown, 70 rushes. I mean, he dominated that game. Again, if he did not fumble that ball, which was a fluky play, he would have
Yeah.
had like a flawless game, like perfect game. I mean, he did nothing
Basically.
wrong besides that.
Yeah.
So I feel like as an Eagles fan, you have to be happy with the direction of your team because you have your quarterback is kind of set in stone now. I mean, before the year, you guys didn't even know if Jalen Hurts was going to be your guy. And now
Yeah.
for you guys to make it to a Super Bowl, have Jalen Hurts who's a potential MVP candidate, I feel like you guys have to be happy with your situation. The only issue is that he's going to get paid, and that's going to take away money from other positions that you guys really need because you guys had the most complete roster in football, and you're not going to have that going forward because you're going to have to pay Jalen Hurts and some of the other guys are going to have to leave. So you guys are going to need to draft very well. For
Yeah.
example, you look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs started the third most rookies out of any team in the NFL. You know who the top two teams were? The Bears and the Texans. You know where those teams are drafting? Number one overall, number two overall, and the Chiefs just won the Super Bowl. So good teams are able to continue their dynasty because they draft very well. They replace their older players with young guys that are drafted. They don't have to pay them as much. And I feel like the Eagles, they have a great GM. They have a good front office. They should be able to replace some of their guys, but they might lose some players. I mean, Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson are getting older, so in the next few years they're probably going to retire.
Fletcher
Um,
Cox.
Fletcher Cox, some of the D linemen are getting
And
Brandon
Tommy
Graham.
Sue is not going to be there for
Who,
much long. Like we just
yeah,
kind of signed him.
yeah. So you guys have like a lot of older players that are probably gonna leave. I mean, even your back line with Slay and Bradbury and Maddox and Gardner Johnson, like there's a lot of good players, but who knows if one of them might have to go or like you might have to draft someone. I mean, it's all left up in the air right now. But you look at the Chiefs going into next year, they just won the Super Bowl this year, and they have like a solid amount of cap space, and they
Yeah.
always do well in the draft. So I mean, that team could be really dangerous next year. I know the AFC West. I feel like the AFC West is gonna have a bounce back year. Last year,
Let's
everyone
hope
thought
so.
that this year the AFC West was supposed to be the best division of football. It wasn't. I feel like next year it probably will because Sean Payton's going to the Broncos. That's going to be a good team next year. They'll probably win 9, 10, 11 games. The Chargers are going to be a good team. They hired a Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator. They should be a better team. They have tons of talent. So I feel like they'll be a 10 or 11 win team. And then
Hmm.
you look at the Chiefs. You can never count out the Chiefs. The Chiefs are still going to be the best team in that division. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what happens. They have the best quarterback, and the difference in quarterback between Mahomes and anyone else is so much that you can't even compare it. So
Yeah.
they're going to be great. They'll be able to maybe get some more weapons on the outside for Mahomes. I mean, even with Kadarius Toney, Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, MVS didn't get a catch yesterday, I don't think, and he
Yeah.
still dominated the game because Mahomes like it doesn't matter who's like playing receiver. He made Sky Moore a good receiver. He made Kadarius Toney a good receiver when he wasn't doing anything in New York. I mean, he made Juju Smith-Schuster, who got let go by the Steelers, into a very good. Juju had a good game yesterday, very good game. I mean, he had some big catches. So it doesn't really matter who's around Mahomes. He just needs to get some. If they get more talent, of course, it'll help him. But I feel like the draft is gonna be interesting this year with like we'll see if there's any trades. We'll see if the Chiefs try to. I feel like if you're the Chiefs, you have to solidify that defense. That defense is a little weak. If they got like a stout defense with Mahomes, you're never gonna lose. I mean,
Hmm.
it's gonna be hard because you're paying them that much, but like if they have like the Tom Brady Patriots level defense with Mahomes, dude, they're not losing anything. Like so, I
Yeah.
feel like if they get a little more help on the defensive side of the ball, they had some improvements this year, but if they just really shore up on their
Hmm.
tackling and their back end, that'll be a dangerous team. But I feel like overall it was a solid NFL season. Nothing to be disappointed about. The
Yeah.
playoffs are very good this year. A lot of close games. Um, the Super Bowl lived up to the hype. I feel like that's all you can ask for. I feel like
Yeah.
that's all you can ask for a season. It was one of the better seasons in recent
Yeah.
memory. So nothing to complain about. Hopefully 2020, what is it, 2023, 24 is gonna be a good season too.
Yeah. We're
So
getting
we'll
old,
see.
to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna wrap up on two things here. The first thing is again, it's so funny throughout the entire game, like and especially like the people that I'm around, like stuff would happen, and I'm like, I said that would happen in the podcast, and they're like, what podcast? And I'm like, don't worry about it. But so yeah, and one of the things that I said was gonna be a big deal was the fact that Patrick Mahomes, when he's pressured, is going to escape the pocket. And it was
Yeah.
up to those linebackers and those cornerbacks to come pressure him so to make sure that he doesn't get more than like 5 or 6 yards. What ends up
It,
happening? What is
it
the
did not
like the
happen.
most turn play that like everyone's gonna look at? It's gonna be that 20-yard something run from Patrick
Yeah.
Mahomes. And why was that? Was because they were playing man coverage and all the secondaries were just taken out into the open field when the Chiefs knew what they were doing. They were not going to lob that ball up 70 yards. Okay. They knew what they were doing. They make it seem like it's going to be a long pass, and then as soon as they get the secondary out far enough, Patrick Mahomes just escapes from the pocket and runs. And I said exactly that. I said that if they weren't going to watch out for that, that was going to be the difference in the game, and that is exactly what the difference in the game was.
Bet them, yeah.
But and then the last thing, I feel like a lot of people should be talking about this a little more, but Andy Reid is, he's been in the league for a while. And I mean, he coached with the Eagles. He's now been coaching with the Chiefs. He's coached with a few other teams. But, are we seeing the end of the Andy Reid era, or is this the beginning of the Chiefs era? Like
I feel like
what do you
this
think
is
the game plan is?
I feel like let's say that Mahomes never existed and Alex Smith was still there. I think that Reed would retire soon because like if they weren't winning Super Bowls, then he has less of an incentive to keep going. He said
Mhm.
yesterday he's going to continue coaching. When you have someone as good as Patrick Mahomes playing quarterback, you don't want to walk away because you can win every year. There's a chance to win. Even no matter what your roster is, you always have a chance to win because number 15. So I feel like Reed's going to stay for a little bit longer. Right now, they've had two Super Bowls in the last 5 years. If they get to like three or four, even five Super Bowls, it'll be a debate over who's like the best coach ever. It's going to keep getting closer. I mean, I know Belichick has six and he won all those rings with Brady, but let's say Andy Reid ends with four or five, and he's with Mahomes. I mean, it's a real debate because Andy Reid did it in Philly and did it with Mahomes. I mean, he didn't win a Super Bowl in Philly, but he made a Super Bowl. He made a few NFC Championship, I think five NFC Championship games, which is a lot. So they did some good things in Philly. He's doing some amazing things in Kansas City. So I mean, if he keeps going with Mahomes, then it could definitely be a conversation. But I feel like Reed's gonna keep going probably another 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, he has the best quarterback in the league by such a significant margin that I just can't see him walking away from that. And they have such a good relationship. The team has great camaraderie. So I think he's gonna stay, but it is a question because he is getting older.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like like I think the thing that I look at the most is like Tom Brady's situation because I mean, when he won that Super Bowl against the Chiefs, like that should have been it. I feel like he should have retired like right there and then because he stamped it in. He stamped it in
Yeah,
as the greatest quarterback of all time. He basically showed in that moment that he could do it with any team. It didn't matter what coach he had, didn't matter what team he had. He just proved that he could do it. But he does end up going into retirement, but then comes back from retirement. And then he just, kind of has like lacking season with the Buccaneers, and not to the point where Tom Brady has retired, and he finishes on a season where the Buccaneers barely finished at like 500. They,
under 500.
lose
Yeah,
in the first round of the
yeah,
playoffs.
yeah.
And it's just like, it's kind of thing. So I just hope, I hope that doesn't happen to Andy Reid. Obviously, the Chiefs look very good right now. I just hope that, like they stay this way
Keep
because,
going. Yeah,
as an Eagles fan, I can respect Andy Reid. He spent so many seasons with the Eagles. He did so much for us, especially, with Donovan McNabb, with Michael Vick. So, you can't really hate the guy, but yeah, I definitely think he should stay. The Chiefs they look really good. I mean, this might be like prime Chiefs for all we know. Like this might be the start of like multiple Super Bowls. They could be the next Patriots for all we know. But
yeah.
I just feel like, yeah, Andy Reid should stay, but I'm just, kind of cautious about, sometimes retiring on the high is just the safest and best option to do. But, on the other side of it, you've got Nick Sirianni, who's like a young coach already in the Super Bowl. So he's definitely staying around. But their OC is probably going to end up coaching the Colts, and then their DC is probably going to end up coaching the Cardinals. So it's just, a whole roster change, and there's nothing like we can like really do about it. But Nick Sirianni is definitely going to have some work to do in this offseason, and especially come draft day, we have our two first rounds. I would be shocked if we traded that, or if we do trade the picks, maybe we trade it for a player as well. That would be helpful because we have a lot of space. We have a lot of guys to
Win
give up.
now.
And
You
your
have to
point
win
about
now.
Jalen
You guys have a
Hurts,
you got to win now. I mean, your
yeah,
roster is ready to win now. So you guys are going to make big moves. I mean, you guys might draft two first rounders or you trade them for like some star player. So I don't think you're just going to trade for
yeah.
like later picks because you need to win now. But I feel like
If it
I
was
feel like
if
you
it
guys will
was
be good.
me, if it was me and I was in the front office of Philadelphia, I would be very concerned about my D line way more
Uh,
than anything else. I feel like our D line needs the most work just because guys like Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, and Dominican Sue. You've got Robert Quinn. You also have Hargraves. Like they're not going to be there forever. All right. And
You
especially
guys need to get
now,
younger.
like they are, yeah, they're in their last years of their
Yeah,
career. So I feel like we need to really start getting worried about that. I mean, the Eagles have historically like drafted defensive players, so I'm not too worried about it. But I would just be very concerned about our D line. Start, have them have like these rookies under guys like Ndamukong Suh, like Fletcher Cox, like Brandon Graham, who have been in the league for years, give them a little bit of experience.
yeah,
And then by the time that those guys by the time that those guys retire, we have a whole new D line that's ready to go, that's locked and loaded. So
exactly.
yeah, we'll be, that's it. I mean, that's
That's it.
it. NFL
That's it.
season is over. Like you said, it was a
Yeah,
really good season. Playoffs were good.
yeah,
Season was good. I'm happy. Eagles made it to the Super Bowl. We lost though, and that's okay. Like you win some, you lose some. Chiefs were the better team. I mean, the second half we truly did not deserve it. And coming out of it, I wasn't salty, and I was like, meh, whatever. So, like it is what it is. Like, yes, I'm upset. Like my team lost. And, the fact that we lost by 3 makes it even worse. Like to me personally, I would rather get blown out by like 40 points than like have it be a close game against a really good team and then lose by 3, because then that just shows like the potential was there to win, but we just blew it. So that's just me. And I know Eagles fans around the world, like, everyone hates us. We're the worst fan base in the NFL. And personally, I think that I'm the exception. I feel like I'm the outlier in the group of Eagles fans, but hate me all you want. A lot of people hate my opinions, but it was a good Super Bowl, good NFL season. And yeah, I think that's gonna do it for
yeah,
this episode. Make sure to follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Dubs Only Sports, and full episodes on YouTube and Spotify. Other than that, we'll see you guys in the next season. We'll probably talk about NFL again come draft time, or maybe
yeah,
some trades go down. We'll see what happens. We still have to see if Lamar Jackson gets traded to the Raiders, Aaron Rodgers gets traded to the Jets, which is starting to look more plausible.
yeah.
All these trades, all these things going on. So we'll definitely be covering those. So look out for those. But other than that, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out, guys. Go Birds.